What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to have a chat about Smoker. You see, Smoker is a leader that I like very much indeed. You know, I talked the other day about Bello Betty being a leader that I love. I showed you a video about Bello Betty actually winning, which made me very, very happy indeed. But there are other leaders I like, Vivi, for instance, which, look, it's been a while. No one's made Vivi work yet. I want Nefertari Vivi to be amazing. I hold out hope that Nefertari Vivi will one day be amazing, but right now Nefertari Vivi is not amazing. But another leader I have liked for almost as long as the game has been out is Smoker. I love Smoker. OP-02 Smoker. And let's be honest, we did get a starter deck for Smoker recently. Brought in some interesting new cards, which I do think is... it's helping, frankly, ladies and gentlemen. It's helping. And I've seen a bunch of flagship tournaments over in Japan being won by Smoker. So I think it's about time we had a little bit of a chat about Smoker. Because I'm telling you right now, this deck is winning a bunch and it is absolutely legit. Now, the leader here, we got a mono black 5000 power 5 life, and Don X1, activate main once per turn, give one of your opponent's characters -1 cost during this turn, and then if there's a character with a cost of 0, doesn't have to be the one you gave -1 to, just any character will do, well, this leader gains 1000 power during this turn. So you end up with a 6k leader, and you end up with your opponent's power being reduced. Frankly, that sounds pretty good to me. And I think we finally hit the point here where this has actually become a good deck, and this makes me very, very happy. So let's have a gander, shall we? Starting off, we've got a full 4 copies of SOOOO here. No real surprise. It's a SOOOO from OP-03, and it's got a rather lovely skill. It's got plus 2000 counter, which is awesome. And on play, give one of your opponent's characters -2 cost during this turn. OP-03 SOOOO, very nice indeed. So, yeah, it's a kind of card where you're going to see this a lot, frankly, in a lot of different decks. We've also got the 1 cost Sengoku, which is another card which we have seen quite a few times before. We're doing a bit of a Navy theme coming on here. This is the one from starter deck 19, i.e. one of the new ones from the Smoker starter deck. 1 cost, 1000 power, and on play, you may trash 2 black Navy cards from your hand. But if your leader has a Navy type, and Smoker absolutely does, well, you get yourself 3 cards. Now, you do have to trash before you draw, which is not the ideal way round. You'd rather draw and then trash, so you've got the most information when you trash your cards. But you end up with +1, you see 3 cards you didn't see before. You're going to see this in a lot of Navy decks moving forward. And yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer here. I'm going to be honest with you. Speaking of no-brainers, how about Branu? This is a 2 cost card that you will have seen in a bunch of decks before, because on play, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, find a Navy card other than Branu, add it to your hand. We've known for a while that Black Navy can win, and if Black Navy does win, you're going to be playing Branu as your generic searcher. This is kind of inevitable. Another card that does feel kind of inevitable here is your Helmeppo. Your 2 cost Helmeppo from after he became, you know, a big bad fighter and all of that. We are talking about the one that originated in starter deck 6. On play, you give one of your opponent's characters -3 cost. I've already seen that Smoker does like to give minus cost. That ends up being pretty gosh darned important. And you've got other cards that work there as well. Add it all up, and yeah, you've got a card here that works very, very nicely in this deck. And we've also got Brooke. I love Brooke. Brooke is one of those cards from EB-01, which, when I pulled the old art of this from a Japanese box, I wasn't loving it. And then I've seen how much play this has actually seen, and now I'm thinking like, oh yeah, okay, you know what? This is a great card, and it absolutely should be fitting into a bunch of black decks, as it totally does. And what we've got here is on play, and when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost for the turn. then KO one of your opponent's zero-cost characters. Well, the point here is that you are trying to get zero-cost characters. That's what you're aiming for. That's what Smoker wants. So here, you're lowering your cost, or your opponent's cost, which works nicely, while also going after zero-cost characters, which you are trying to create. Add it all up, and you're on to a winner. But you can't have a Smoker deck without Tashigi. And we actually have two different Tashigi we are playing here. And one of them is the free cost, which originally came around in Starter Deck 6. We got counter plus 2k, which is always important. And activate main, rest this character, give one of your opponent's characters -2 cost. And look, I don't need to keep saying it. We know at this stage that minusing cost is important in this deck, and Tashigi helps you out very nicely indeed. Speaking of cards that lower cost and help you out very nicely indeed, and speaking of cards that originated in Starter Deck 6, we've got ourselves Hina. And Hina, we've seen this for a while now. On play, -4 cost to one of your opponent's characters. It's not a particularly subtle card. It doesn't need to be. It's one that just does its job beautifully. The job is lowering power, and Hina is one of the best cards we've actually got for it. Moving up into 4 cost, we should probably start off with Rebecca. Because Rebecca and Hina have been a combination for a while now. This is one of the big combinations in your Sakazuki decks back when it was dominating in the OP-05 meta. Firstly, it's a blocker. We don't have a huge amount of blockers in this deck, so having a blocker is nice. And secondly, we've got an on-play, return a black character other than Rebecca with a cost of 3 to 7 from your trash to your hand. There are a couple characters we won't get here, but we'll get most of them. And then play a 3 cost or less black character from your hand to your field, rested. And it's really simple. Every character I've already talked about before Rebecca is a 3 cost or lower character that can be played for free by Rebecca. All the ones I'm going to talk about from now on, unfortunately, are not particularly good targets, because they're not 3 cost or less, but I've talked about a bunch of good cards here. Now, the list I'm going to show you doesn't actually have T-Bone in. However, there is a note on the tweet they sent out. It's 0UW36320723590E, if you want to go and look them up. They did put in their tweet that, well, we're playing Virgo here because we don't have T-Bone. So just a little bit of a note there that there should be T-Bone in the deck, so we're going to mention it here. It's one from EB01, it's got counter plus 2000, and on play, KO a character with a cost of 2 or less. Remember how I said there were going to be other cards that took advantage of the low cost characters? Yeah. T-Bone is one of them, and it's great. And while we're here, Rob Lucci, also a great option in this deck. It's kind of like the third part of the Rebecca-Hina combination, because when you play it, you KO a character with a cost of 2 or less, and a character with a cost of 1 or less, which doesn't sound great until you remember all of the cost lowering that we're doing here, and then it becomes great. You do have to put 3 cards in your trash at the bottom of the deck to activate it. Well, I promised you a second Tashigi here, and I'm going to deliver a second Tashigi, and it is actually the one from the new Starter Deck, Starter Deck 19. Remember, there's 5 new cards in each of these new Starter Decks, and the rest are reprints. 2 of the 5 are making it into this deck. I think that's incredibly relevant. And what we've got here is 5 cost, 6,000 power, counter plus 1,000. On play, if your leader is Smoker, very specific, one of your opponent's characters gets -4 cost for the turn. Same effect as Hina, but better character. And activate main once per turn. If it's a turn this character was played, trash one of your opponent's cost 0 characters. And obviously here, we're going to be looking for cost 0 characters. I keep telling you that. In this deck, if you're going to be playing Smoker, this Tashigi is one of the best cards in the entire deck. The fact that it's a -4 reduction on play is great. The fact that you're KOing a 0 cost character or even trashing them is better than KOing, because if you trash, it's not a KO, and on KO effects don't activate, so it's actually better than KOing them. Tashigi here is absolutely phenomenal. And look, I know it's not a Navy card, but we're playing for Gecko Maria. Because Gecko Maria, it doesn't matter whether it's a Navy card or not. You're playing a black deck, and Gecko Maria is full-on ridiculous busted, so yeah, you're playing a playset of them. This is, of course, a phenomenal one from OP-06, whereby on play, you get to grab yourself a 4 cost or less and a 2 cost or less. One gets played, and one gets played rested. You're playing 2 of your characters back for free. Bearing in mind the amount of characters that have got skills that will lower cost here, it's just phenomenal. Getting back all of those other characters, lowering cost again, you can't. It's just so ridiculous. Playing this, absolutely essential. And the last character we are going to be seeing here is Isho, another card we've seen a lot in Black Navy decks. It is the one that originated back in OP-03, 8 cost, 9,000 power. So like your Gecko Maria, it's one of your bigger game-ending cards here. Don X1, on your turn, all of your opponent's characters get -3 cost. Obviously, that's absurd, given the whole, that's the aim of the deck. And on play, if your opponent's got 6 or more cards in hand, trash 2 of them. Sometimes that's going to work, sometimes that's not going to work, but the static -3 cost of everything else going on here, just way too tempting. And then we've got a single solitary event card. We're only playing one of them, but we are playing a full 4 copies, and it's only a 1 cost, and by now you've probably figured out it's Ice Age. Because as a main, give one of your opponent's characters -5 cost. As a trigger, KO a cost 3 or less. And with everything you're looking to do in this set, the whole deck is about lowering cost and taking advantage of it. So you're giving me a 1 cost event card that can lower cost by 5? Yeah. This is the kind of card that means you are going to be able to KO basically any 0 cost character. You can take anything down to a 0 cost, but also it's got a trigger that KOs a 3 cost or less. Phenomenal. Absolutely love it. Could not be much more of a fan of it. But I've told you all about this now, ladies and gentlemen, so now it's over to you guys. Oh wait, here's a second deck. Different list here, but a very similar kind of thing. You'll see there is a lot of overlap. Not perfectly the same, but there's a lot of overlap between the 2 decks. To put it very simple, Smoker is here, Smoker is legit, and these 2 lists prove it. But I've told you all about this now, so now it's over to you guys. Tell me if you rate Smoker, tell me if you think it's legit, or tell me if you think it's a little bit overblown. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at Lawasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wassy Plays.